Church, welcome to Wednesday Night Live, RPM Week 6, and we are ready to get after it.
Oh, yeah. Closing out strong on Week 6.
You know how we do it.
We got with intentionality, right?
That's
intentionality.
Right. It's all about the intentionality, reaching people with intentionality. And man, I almost tripped up on that word. But we're excited to have you here. I'm so excited to just be able to welcome you in. And I just think these past 6 weeks have been awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you've been in and out, you might have been on vacation. Just being able to have some practical information on how to reach people has been really cool.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jason. Because if you have been in and out, hey, that they're on our Facebook page, but you can also find the RPM episodes. So each one of them is on YouTube as well, and there's actually 2 bonus ones that you can go check out as well. One of them in particular is reaching people in your workplace, and so that's one I want to know. I want to go check out, and I want to listen to that one, watch that one as well. So there's 2 bonus episodes, but yeah, if you've missed any throughout, and you want the full feel of Palms RPM, you can watch it on our Facebook page and our YouTube. But if you just want to watch the RPM, Dino Rizzo interviewing each and every one of the guests each week, go ahead and you can check that out on YouTube and get those bonus episodes. Those are some good ones.
Yeah, and this is a really cool week because if you remember back to week 3, we talked about just reaching people by building a bridge. And we have Pastor Edwin Jones here with us this week to kind of finish out our series. And we're just excited to have him in the house. We want to shout him out. We're just so grateful to be able to have him here. So after we get through with the video tonight, we're going to have him live for an interview right here on the Boulevard campuses. So we can't wait to hear just that wisdom and that knowledge that he has, because he is one of the greatest at reaching people. And so we can't wait to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, pumped to have him from Over the Water in Newport News at Bridge Church coming here. So we got some local love for him. Pumped to have him on. But this is all leading up to our Serve Day on Saturday, right? We're pumped up. So, hey, if you haven't already, sign up online. You go Palms Cares online. If you're on site as well, then you can come out, find one of the iPads. You can sign up here on location and check them out. Man, we got tons going on here. So many different serve opportunities. If you're online, we have some online opportunities as well. So make sure you check those out. Once again, that's at Palms Cares on the website, Palms Church Online. Check them out. There'll be a link in the chat as well.
Yeah, make sure you get signed up. You have no excuse. We showed you what the sign-up page looks like. I'm signed up. You signed up, Pastor Phil?
Oh, yeah. I signed up for 2, man. I doubled down.
Hey, he's making me look bad. I only signed up for 1, so I'm going to have to get on my phone right now. But you can sign up on your phone. You can sign up online, palmschurchonline.com. Week 6, RPM. Let's get it.
What is up, Palms Church? Come on, would you stand to your feet? If you're watching online, turn up the volume. We're going to worship, amen. Come on, just invite His presence into this place. wasn't holding you up, so there's nothing I could do to let you down. It doesn't take a trophy to make you proud, and I'll never be more loved than I am right now.
Going through a storm, but I won't go down. I hear your voice carried in the rhythm of the wind to call me out. And you would cross an ocean so I wouldn't drown. You've never been closer than you are right now. 'Cause you are a
Jireh, you are enough. Jireh, you are enough. And I will be content in every circumstance. You are Jireh, you are enough. Forever enough, and always enough, and more than enough. Forever enough, and always enough, more than enough. And I don't wanna forget how I feel right now on mountaintop, and I can see it so clear what it's all about. So stay by my side until the sun goes down. I don't wanna forget how I feel right now. And Jireh, Jireh, you are enough. And Jireh, you are enough. And I will be content in every circumstance, for you are Jireh, you are enough. Come on, let's tell them it's forever enough, ever enough, and always enough, and more than enough. Forever enough, and always enough, more than enough.
I'm already loved, I'm already chosen. I know who I am, I know what you've spoken. I'm already loved more than I could imagine, and that is enough. Oh, I'm already loved, I'm already chosen. I know who I am, I know what you've spoken. I'm already loved more than I could imagine, and that is enough. I'm already loved, I'm already chosen. I know who I am,
Speak it over you
I
tonight.
know what you've spoken. I'm already loved more than I could imagine, and that is enough. That is enough.
Come on, tell them. That is enough. That is enough. Jireh, you are enough. So I will be content in every circumstance. You are Jireh, you are enough. You're more than enough, God. Sing it out if he dresses.
If he dresses the lilies with beauty and splendor, how much more will he clothe you? How much more will he clothe you? If he watches over every sparrow, how much more does he love you? How much more does he love you? If he dresses the lilies with beauty and splendor, how much more will he clothe you? How much more will he clothe you? If he watches over every sparrow, how much more does he love you? How much more does he love you? If he dresses the lilies with beauty and splendor, how much more will he clothe you? How much more will he clothe you? If he watches over every sparrow, how much more does he love you? How much more does he love you?
How much more does he love you? How much more? It's more than you ask, think, or imagine. According to his power working in us, it's more than enough. More than you ask, think, or imagine. According to his power working in us, it's more than enough. Working in us, it's more than enough. Jireh, you are enough. Jireh, you are enough. So I will be content in every circumstance. For you are Jireh, you are enough. Come on, I will be content. And I will be content in every circumstance. For you are Jireh, you are enough.
I have a daughter, and she's 2.5, almost 3, and she loves this song, and we'll sing it at night sometimes, and she'll say, "Daddy, can we sing Jireh?" And she'll say, "Daddy, I want to sing my part," right? She wants to sing her part, and it's, if he dresses the lilies, how much more does he love you? You know, I think sometimes we sing words, right? We sing lyrics, but do we actually believe the words that we're singing? Do we actually believe that he loves us that more? Do we actually believe that he loves us in the midst of our pain, in the midst of our addiction, in the midst of our depression, our anxiety, our stress, and what we're walking through? Do we actually believe that, right? I want to take a moment. I want you to just close your eyes, and I want you to just imagine this love. Imagine the love of a father, that if he dresses the lilies, how much more does he love you? I want you to think about that thing, that area where you feel unloved, that area maybe online where you feel like nobody cares about you, maybe that thing that you're walking through medically, or whatever it may be. Maybe it's a family relationship, maybe it's insecurity. I want you to just think about right now how much God loves you. God, I pray right now for every person, God, whatever it is that they're struggling with, God, where they're feeling unloved, God, I pray that as we're learning how to reach people, God, as we're learning how to be light in dark places, God, that we would know first and foremost how loved we are. Father, if we're going to love our neighbors, God, we got to love ourselves. God, and we got to know how much you love us. God, we got to see ourselves as you see us. God, I pray for a renewing in minds right now. God, for a renewing in spirits. that we would know and see how precious we are, that you made us, God, in our innermost being, God. You knew what we were going to be like. You knew we were going to be here tonight. You know who you've called us to reach through this Reach People movement. God, I pray as you're putting people on our hearts right now, God, whether it's in a workplace, God, or putting a project on our heart, God, that we're going to sign up here by the end of the night. God, I pray that we would know that we're enough. God, that we're enough just because we're going to show up. God, and we're going to show up and then you're going to show off. God, we know that you're going to do amazing things through this serve day. God, I pray that we would just be willing to step into those moments. God, to step in those places, to be a light to a dark spot, God, or some darkness, God, and know that we can give control up to you. God, we don't need to control it, God, but that your hand is in it. God, in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Well, y'all can have a seat. We are in for a special treat. This is week 6, the last week of our RPM. We're going to be talking about intentionally reaching people. We got a special guest with us, Pastor Edwin Jones from Bridge Church. Man, y'all make some noise online. Make some noise. We got Pastor Edwin Jones pumped up. Can't wait to hear just his insight. So analytical, just knows the Word of God. Excited to hear what he's going to bring. But buckle your seatbelts and let's check this out.
Hey everybody, welcome back to our final session of RPM. I hope you've gotten much out of this study and you're feeling more passionate, more equipped than ever to go out, reach people for the cause of Jesus Christ. For our final meeting together today, we're going to talk about intentionality, which really boils down to stewarding our time and attention to serve people well and make such a lasting impact with our lives. We have this opportunity to live our one life to make other lives better. That's really going to make our lives count. We want our lives to count. Pouring our lives into others, pouring our life out for others. That's exactly what Jesus did. And we see that in our theme verse throughout this series. Acts chapter 10, verse 38 says this, how God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Spirit and power, and how he went around doing good and healing all who were under the power of the devil, because God was with him. Jesus, the Son of God, filled with the Spirit, could have done anything with his time on earth. And he spent his life and his power, his gifting, doing good to people, bringing healing to everyone. God was with him. God's with us. And he's given us power, gifting, and time to use to do good and to bring healing to people. And when you and I are intentional with these things he's given us, we can lift up other people. We can help them be healed. We can help them find Jesus. That's what we're going to do, and that's what it's all about. So the key to us to fulfill the call is intentionality. There's nobody I would rather talk about this topic of being able to reach people intentionally than Pastor Bishop, my friend, Tim Timberlake. He and his wife, Jen, they are lead pastors of Celebration Church in Jacksonville, and then also Creekmore, North Carolina, my home state. Tim is an author. He reaches people, one of the greatest communicators on the planet. God is using him in an incredible way in a lot of different worlds and a lot of different kind of spheres of influence, whether it's entertainment or it's athletics and athletes, it's the church. And so, Tim, we're so excited to have you with us on RPM to be able to talk a little bit about how to reach people in an intentional way. Thanks a lot for joining us, Tim.
Pastor Dino, I'm super honored and humbled. And, you know, we're not supposed to have favorites, but I have a favorite, and it's you. And I'm so honored and privileged that you would have me on RPM today to help some people with intentionality and just have a conversation like we do off the record. I'm glad we got an opportunity to capture it on camera for so many today.
That is true. We talk a lot about that. I mean, you're in a church that reaches people. You've done that throughout your life in the different, North Carolina, you spent some time up in Detroit. You've traveled. You built a great church. You built a great following. Even social media, you've used that very intentional. You're very intentional with your social media to reach people. It's always about the cause of Christ, but you've done a good job of building a bridge. I think that's one of the reasons why you wrote the book, which I love, The Power of, 1440 or 1440 or however you say it. Tell me a little bit about the book and how you do want to make the most of every moment and every minute.
Yeah, I think when we typically think of a day, we think of it in the terms of 24 hours.
Right.
And when we think of it in terms of 24 hours, we think we have an endless amount of time throughout the day. But when you boil it down to the minutes, 1,440 minutes, that's all we got every single day. That's all that we are allowed to really operate off of. And if we're looking at it from the terms of an account, we have 1,440 minutes deposited that we can withdraw from every single day. And so the way that we go about our day has to be looked at from the perspective of being intentional, because if we're not intentional, we waste minutes, and those minutes turn into moments, and those moments turn into regrets. And so, for me, I try to steward the time that God gives us to the best of my ability and really make the most out of it, because you never know how a moment can change the trajectory of your life.
And that's so good, because you learn in the book tools and practical ways to steward your day. Because really what I love about this is the outcome and the goal of that is to live a great life, to be a blessing to your family, it's to build a local church, it's to build the kingdom, it's to impact eternity, but it's to reach people and make a difference. That's one of the goals of stewarding your day. So talk a little bit about that goal of when you steward your day, it impacts others.
Yeah, I think the sole purpose that we're here, at the end of our life, we'll be known for one of two things, either the problems that we solve or the problems that we create. And my prayer is to just add value to people's lives and be a hope architect, to help people build hope, to help people understand that they can make a difference, and a significant difference when they are intentional with their time. And so for me, the goal and the heart behind my day is to spend my life and my time pouring it into the lives of others. Because I'm a firm believer, when we allow our lives to be poured into the lives of others, our lives get fuller because of it. And so one of my favorite scriptures is the world of the generous gets bigger and bigger, and the world of the state smaller and smaller. And so I desire that my world would get bigger. And so I made it my life's priority and really intention to pour my life into as many people as I possibly can.
And you could do that, man. You could do that when you're part of a small group and you care for the person down the street. You can do that when you notice someone who's hurting. You find out about somebody going through trauma. You find out about someone who maybe lost their job. Or you could do it as an event at the church where you do a big serve day, or you're doing a time where you're reaching out to the community, in your family, in the workplace, to the next generation. We're talking about all those things of just reaching people all around you. I love that, that our theme scripture is how Jesus went about doing good and healing all who were oppressed, and God was with him. We're living in a time that's very oppressed. I mean, we've seen a lot take place the last couple of years. The pain, the COVID, the uncertainty, the fear, the racism, the trauma, the addiction, all these things that are going on. What have you learned, and how do you reach people that are going through things like the world right now?
I think all of us are attached to pain. And I think that pain brings us to the place of empathy. I think pain brings us to the place of sympathy. And it brings us to a place where we have an understanding that all of humanity is going through something. I think if 2020 and the beginning of 2021 has taught us anything, is that all of us are going through pain, some type, some way, some area of our life, whether it's from the economic crisis or COVID-19 or the racial tension or, our kids just being in our homes all the time in various seasons over the last year and a half. We all have experienced pain. And so the way that we go about our life and navigating pain and healing from the pain, that's up to us. And so we may not be able to determine how we get wounded, or how we get hurt, but we can determine how we heal. And I believe one of the quickest ways to heal is to help someone else when they are wounded to understand that they're not alone, that they're not by themselves. They have brothers and sisters that are waiting and willing to lock arms with them, to walk with them through the process of healing. That's where we find healing ourselves.
That's so good, T. Man, I love listening to you talk. And again, you're one of the greatest preachers on the planet. There's not many times I preach that I don't ask you for advice. And you have a mom who's a great preacher. Your dad passed away when you were 18 years old. And that inspired a lot of this idea about make the most of every minute and to be intentional. So you've had pain. How do you minister to someone who's in trauma? Man, I want to reach people, but man, they've lost a loved one. When you get down into the nitty gritty, what are the things I need to know about to reach someone who's in trauma or brokenness?
Yeah, I think the human nature side of us, when we encounter, have a conversation with someone that is in trauma, we try to compare our trauma to theirs to navigate that conversation. And I think one of the greatest things that we can do while we are walking with someone in trauma is just to listen and just to be a presence. There's something supernatural. There's something powerful about the power of presence. And so I remember growing up, Pastor Dino, my mom would be telling me, hey, you need to go clean up your room. You need to do all these different things. And she would be saying all these different things over and over again, and it wouldn't move me. And my dad could literally stand in the doorway, and I would see him, and I would begin to do what it was that she had been telling me to do. But it was something powerful about his presence. There was an authority. There was a perspective that he had. I understood and knew that because he was there, if I did not carry out what I was supposed to do, something would happen. And I think for us to understand, we carry the presence, we carry the person, we carry the power of Jesus Christ on the inside of us. And so when we are listening to someone with trauma, the presence that we carry with us is powerful. It's supernatural. It touches them to know that someone is there for them, someone is there to listen to them, and someone is there to hear and give godly sound wisdom. Not necessarily our opinion, but godly sound wisdom when the Holy Spirit prompts us to. And I think that is so healing. It's like a healing balm that starts to rub over the wound and the sore and the cut of those that have experienced the trauma that they may be going through. And so one of the things that I try to practice in my own personal life is never talk from a wound, always talk from a scar. And so if it's a wound, it's still too fresh. It's still too painful. I'm talking out of emotion. I'm talking out of my will, out of my wants. But if I talk from a scar, I can always point the person going through trauma back to what Jesus has done, back to how he brought me through, back to how he brought me over, back to how I got through with the help of him, whatever it was that I was experiencing as a trauma.
You always drop it in one-liners that's going to go, help me, man. I'm going to take that one now. It's going to help me live my life and do those things. But, I mean, that is super important. So, you think about it. I mean, you listen, you're there, you give good sound wisdom. Because I think sometimes we don't think that Jesus was a good listener.
Right.
And what we do then is, so when we do a serve day, we go out and do the project. It's all about the project. Let's get the wheelchair ramp built. Let's go to the nursing home. Let's wash the cars. Let's go bring groceries. And we can make our serve and our care and our love and our reach an event, a project. Hey, this week our small group's getting together. We're going to go do this. Hey, me and my husband are going to go bring a meal. Hey, we're going to connect with our local, food bank, or we're going to go down there and partner with maybe a treatment center. And we can see it as either we're on the clock or it's and it's about people. It's about listening and connecting with people. You do that so well. You do that in a community like North Carolina. You do it in Jacksonville. You've done a good job of doing that with the culture that we live in right now. Kind of some real people that are making a difference in culture. You've been able to cross over and bring Christianity to a toxic culture. How have you been able to do that?
For me, it goes back to something you just said. It's about the people. And I think oftentimes where we miss it is when what we desire to give is more important than the person we desire to give it to. So the best way for me to compare it would be, around Christmas time, we make our plans to give our gifts to our family and our spouses and to our kids. And sometimes if we're not careful, we make it more about the gift that we're giving versus the person that's receiving it. And I think in life, when we are carrying hope and when we're carrying this message of Jesus Christ, particularly on instances where we have an opportunity to help people on Serve Day, and we have an opportunity to really be with people through some of the most difficult moments of their life. If we're not careful, we'll find ourselves helping and wanting to help to make us feel better, because that's what we have to give, instead of making sure that we are impacting the person that's receiving what it is that we're giving to the best of our ability. And so for me, no matter what sphere of life, no matter who I'm talking to, whether it's an athlete, whether it's an entertainer, whether it's a rapper, whether it's, a regular congregant that comes to the church, my mentality is, for them, I want you to walk away from this conversation better. And I have no motive, I have no agenda from this conversation. And so I think if that's our mentality, if that's what drives us, it puts us into a healthy place. It gives us a healthy perspective. And when our perspective is healthy, then our reality begins to take shape and form, because we're seeing right. I'm a firm believer, if we can see right, we can live right. And so that's how I try to approach everything I do, as far as helping people, giving people, being generous, and having conversations that are needed for people that may be going through some of the toughest times of their life.
Yeah, that's so good. Celebration Church has always been a church that has engaged their community. Man, y'all have done the serve weeks. You're there for people. You have people come in on a Sunday. I've been there before, where people come in a Sunday and they're fighting addiction. They're about to be homeless. Their marriage is falling apart. A blended family is fragmenting. Man, young people going through stuff. And I've seen on site, let's go get them a hotel room. Let's get them some food. Let's go the second mile. Pastor Stovall, Carrie, your whole team there, always gone the second mile. And I know how intentional you are and how loving you are. Give me a little bit on, man, here's how we can go the second mile. Here's how we can reach people with here are practical ways. How's it happening right now at Celebration?
Yeah, for what it is that I believe God has called us to do, it really doesn't matter the revelation that we have of the gospel of Jesus Christ if we're not willing to show it and share it through love and in practical ways. We've been in some situations and circumstances together where we're sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ to a person that's hungry. They can't hear anything because they're hungry. And so taking out time to identify the problem before we try to share the revelation. And so once we can identify the problem, then we can provide a solution, which opens up a door to share what it is that God has placed on our heart that we know will bring transformation. And so I think one of the areas that we've missed it as a church is sometimes we try to provide answers to questions that no one's asking. And so when people are going through pain, people are going through, heartache, trauma, different things that they may be going through, the best thing that we can do is find the problem, provide a solution, and then infuse transformation through the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so Celebration Church has been doing a phenomenal job of that for years and years, way before I came here. And, my desire is to continue to do that and do it in the way that God has called us to do it and carry it out in some creative and really cool and interesting ways.
It's interesting because you and let's reach, we're missionaries, we're evangelists. Let's reach people. I know so many people that are watching this. They get up in the morning, they hear a message, they read a Devo, they listen to a podcast. They want to make a difference. They know that they have a short life. They want to make an eternal impact. Sometimes when you reach people, they don't respond. I've done outreach and I've loved on people that didn't turn around. And that doesn't make me quit. It doesn't make me want to stop. But sometimes you can get compassion fatigue. Sometimes it's like, man, nobody's life is changing. I'm giving, and there's been no transformation. And I know, how have you been so intentional in being able, even though people at times have said no, or everybody you help doesn't turn around? How have you continued to be intentional in sharing the message?
It's seasons like that are painful. They're frustrating. I mean, we have both walked through seasons like that. I remember calling you like, hey, these people ain't changing. They're crazy. They're driving me up the wall. And it gets to a point where if you forget why you're doing it, you make it about you, then you desire to see results when in fact God desires for you to just sow seed. And so for me, I have to understand that in this moment where I am serving, in this moment where I am being generous, in this moment where I am throwing my life at it, it may not be the moment that the harvest is produced, but it in fact may be the moment where I am sowing the seed for the next man or woman to come by and water it. And after them, for the next person to come after them and bring some sunshine. And so I am only a part of the process of the person's life that I am giving to, that I am serving, that I am throwing my life at. And if I don't understand that, then it becomes frustrating. It gets intimidating. You get serving fatigue when you make it more about you than you do about the person that you're serving. And one of the things that I just try to do, one of the practical things that I try to do, is always go back to the place where God bought me from. Because if I can remember, okay, where God brought me from and how many people crossed my path and how many people came across my life and how many people inspired me, encouraged me, and I still didn't change, then I have to give grace, lend grace, yield grace to the person that I may be serving that I may not be seeing change in. And so all of us have something that we can remember that takes us back and that brings us to a place of humility, brings us to a place where we have to drop down on our knees and thank God for not giving up on us, because it inspires us and encourages us to continue to push forward in serving those that are in front of us.
God, that's good. I mean, that just, I'm thinking all kinds of ways to reach people, because what you're saying is don't give up on people.
That's it.
Don't give up. And you know, it's just huge. Don't give up on people. You said a word, generosity. And so if, you know, there's a lot of different ways we reach. We could do organic, where during the day we see a need. We're at the dance studio with our daughter and we hear about a need. I'm at the ball field and I hear about a need. I get an email about someone going through something. There's organized ways. So we organize things with our church. We do a day, we do a week, we do a moment. Partnerships. Sometimes somebody has a heart to work with homeless, so they're going to go down to the shelter. They want to help kids learn how to read, so they're going to be a part of a literacy program. They want to help those that are coming out of being incarcerated, so they want to be in a reentry opportunity. But one of the whether it doesn't matter whether it's organized or it's organic or it's a small group or if it's one person focused, generosity is base camp.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just one of the things that is so important right now is we live in a stingy world. We live in a world that's all about me. See me, look at me, watch me dance, watch me TikTok, watch me Instagram, watch me do this, watch me do that. See me post. Yep. But, you know, at the end of the day, it is just out of a spirit. What you said, I've been brought from a place. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be generous. And in your book about being intentional, one of the greatest ways to be intentional is intentional with our generosity.
Absolutely.
Life, treasure, time. Talk a minute about how important that is in reaching people.
Yeah, I think the biggest misconception of generosity is to give something to someone. That's where it starts. But I think the greatest sign of generosity is not just allowing what you give to change someone else, but give in such a significant and intentional way that it changes you. And so you've been phenomenal at this. And I know the Tim Timberlake that people see today would not even be possible without Pastor Dino, without your generosity, without you literally looking at me years ago and saying, hey, I not only want to give something to you, but I want to open my world to you. And I think that's how generosity sparks hope and changes lives and transforms lives, when it not only changes the person's life that you are giving to, but it sets them on a trajectory of hope and life transformation from that moment forward. Something they never forget, something that becomes a seed, something that becomes transformational, something that becomes contagious. And I believe that's what's so supernatural about generosity. It not only impacts the person that we are helping, serving, giving to, but it impacts generations to come. And so, you know, I'm a firm believer that what we keep in our hand is our harvest, but what we sow turns into our seed. And so there's something that we all have that we can give, something that we all have. There's something that we all carry that we can sow that can be multiplied in the lives of so many people through generosity.
That's good. Yeah, because it could be the smallest thing.
Yep.
Man, it's a smile. It's a, man, good to see you. Hey, praying for you. Hey, let me pick that up for you. You know, it's just those little things. You said something that was so true. And man, I have lived it. I remember my first trip to Honduras, man. I'm going to change Honduras. Me by myself. National revival, my first missions trip. Man, I went down there. I loaded some bricks. I carried some sand. We had a church service. I did a lot of sweat. But we just built one part of the wall. That's all we got done for those 4 days. But can I tell you something? Bishop Tim Timberlake, hey, it built a whole lot more in me.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many times I have heard from people that went on an outreach, that engaged their community, that went and did something that seemed scary. Man, that went out on a serve day, went out on a moment where you had a little missionary, a little evangelism moment, a little soul winning moment. And at the end of the 2 hours later, a day later, 3 days later, wow, I got more out of it than I gave.
Right.
And that's
right.
exactly what you're talking about.
Absolutely. I remember Pastor Dino's story. My grandfather would tell me, and he didn't have much growing up, and he was a sharecropper, and he worked very hard for about $20 a month to feed 8 kids. They stayed in a one-room house, and he was very generous. And it wasn't about the amount that he would give away, but it was about the heart behind what he gave and why he gave it. And he said something to me that sticks with me until this day. I said, why would you be like that? And he said, well, what you don't have, you have to create. And I think that's the message of generosity. What we don't have, we can create it through giving what we have to someone else.
Wow.
And when we give it to someone else, God sees the heart behind it, and he brings someone else across our path to give to us what it is that we in fact need. And I think that's the supernatural thing behind generosity. And I believe that generosity really helps us to break the spirit and the mindset of greed. And it's not until we become generous that we really know who we are and the heart and the intent behind what we do.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, he was a sharecropper, but he was sowing a whole lot more seeds. Every act of kindness for the cause of Jesus is a seed. All the intentional decisions we make and the way we live our life that impact others is a seed. Hey, we got about 1 more minute. And Tim, I love hearing from you. And so I'm a person, I want to make a difference. I want to reach people. I want the 2021, I want 2022, 2023. I want all these years, all these days, all these seasons, all these moments, this month. I want to reach people. Help me reach people.
I think the first thing that we have to do, again, is find what the problem is. Because if we provide a solution for a non-existing problem, then we waste our time and we end up not impacting the people's lives that God has really placed in front of us and in our life to serve. And one of the greatest things about, Serve Day, and one of the greatest things that I know about you, Pastor Dino, is how on purpose you are about helping people solve the problems that they're actually dealing with. And so for those that may be watching this, you desire to make a difference, you desire to help people solve and provide solutions, pinpoint where the problem is. One of the greatest things about Jesus is he knew who he was talking to. When he was talking to farmers, he talked farming. When he was talking to tax collectors, he talked taxes. When he was talking to fishermen, he talked fish. And so you have to know your audience. You have to know the pain and the problem that they're going through. And that way you can accurately provide a solution and serve them and meet the need instead of wasting your time spinning your wheels in the mud.
Man, Pastor Tim Timberlake slinging the fire right there. That was incredible. Because I think there's a small group, there's a couple, there's a college student group, there's somebody right now watching that, and they're gonna sit down after this moment and they're gonna pinpoint a problem. And they can make a difference. So Tim, thank you so much. We love you and Jen, love the church, love your family. Thanks so much for being a part of this series.
Love you, Pastor Dana. I'm so honored to be on the RPM series. It's a blessing.
You know, Tim brought so many incredible thoughts and ideas to the table about how we could pour out our lives reaching people intentionally. And like you said, it really is the key to making the greatest difference in people's lives. I hope you got as much out of the conversation as I did. I know I'm ready to focus on the people I'm around and the people I get to serve, even more than whatever outreach project or serve opportunity I'm a part of. I want to focus on the people. I want to be intentional. At the end of the day, it's about Jesus. It's about people. I'm excited for you to dig into this last discussion time as a group today. We've got some great questions, and there are in your RPM book to unpack some topics together. Since this is the last time I'll be seeing you in the study, I just want to say thank you for joining with us in the movement to reach people. Thank you for answering the call to live like Jesus, serve others, share the good news of the gospel. And I'm so honored to serve alongside of you for the cause of Jesus Christ. And that's the cause that counts the most. God bless you, and thank you so much.
Man, well, y'all are about to be blessed tonight because we have Pastor Edwin Jones in the house. Can y'all make some noise one more time? Pastor Edwin, give him some honor. Pastor Edwin has a key to the city of Hampton, I believe, and he's from the Bridge Church in Hampton. I know y'all got to see him on week 3 on the video. It was cool. Even one of the teens came up to me today, and he said, that was the guy that was talking about the bridge, right? That Chesapeake Bay Bridge tunnel. So, man, just so cool to have you on here. I want to get started. As we're starting, think about questions that you may have and thinking about reaching people. Whether you're online or here in person, think about those questions. Right now, we'll open it up in a second. But I want to let y'all have a chance to connect with Pastor Edwin real quick. He's got some Jordans on. I know he's a basketball guy. His kids, I see you post videos of his son playing basketball. So let me ask you the question. Space Jam 1 or 2? Can you answer that for us?
One all day.
Uh-oh.
One all day. One. My kids will say 2, but one all day.
It's funny because I almost feel like it's like a Jordan LeBron.
Sure.
You're almost like committing to
Right.
Jordan or LeBron.
Right.
Space Jam
Well,
1.
we know who the GOAT is.
That's right.
We know
that's
who the GOAT is.
So Space Jam 1, everybody. Edwin
Yeah.
Jones, we can just end it right now.
Right. Shut it down. It's over.
But man, I want to hear your thoughts, man, in that video. Watching, reaching people intentionally.
Yeah, well, first off, thank you so much, Matt, just for all you do here at Palm Church. Big shout out to your pastors, Pastor Brandon and Pastor Casey. I know they're not here tonight. Man, awesome. Great couple, great friends, and grateful for friendship. And But I love what Tim Timberlake talked about, especially when he started talking about time, because I think sometimes we can forget that it doesn't take a whole lot. It just takes some intentionality. So I think if we just be intentional with carving out some time, just like we make time, I think, for a whole lot of other things, like we make time to binge watch Netflix.
It's really good.
We make time to work out. We make time for work. We make time for kids. And so can we create a little bit of space in our life to make a difference in somebody else's life?
Yeah,
so,
that's
yeah,
really good.
so that was a huge point.
Yeah, no, I like that. And think right now, if anybody has any questions online, you can start typing them in. Anybody here in person, if you have a question, you can just throw up your hand. I think, too, I like that because I actually heard a quote, and it said, discipline in our lives equals freedom, right? Freedom in our schedule and things like that. Maybe just elaborate, man. What does that look like? You're pastoring.
Yeah.
You got an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, Space Jam 2 to watch. I mean, what does that look like,
Yeah, so I operate from a mantra of if you don't schedule time, you'll wonder where it went.
Yeah, that's good.
So I think you have to be really intentional with carving out time for the things that are most important to you. So I think a lot of times we try to aim for balance in our life. So it's like, we want to have the perfectly balanced life, but I kind of function from the mantra of priority. So what's most important in my life? And then from that point on, beginning to build these rhythms around what's most important. So obviously Jesus is most important. My wife is next, and my kids and family and church. And so I think from there you can kind of begin to get a sense of what you need to be devoting certain amounts of time to. And it also allows you to be able to say no to things that you don't need to invest your time in, because time is the one resource we can never get back.
Yeah, that's good.
Right? So you can get back money, you can get clothes, all that, but you can't get time back. And so I think being disciplined about, how we orient our schedules, how we orient our life massive.
Yeah, that's really good too, man. I love to even, thinking about, you have 3 kids, I have 3 kids.
Yep.
What I love about even like serving and like serve days is, especially with the projects we have, I know 8 different projects, no skill required in basically all 8, right? So anybody can show up, anybody can serve, everybody can be great because every person can be can serve. But I love, my kids can come out to him with me. My son, my oldest, he remembers going to clean a Boys and Girls Club bus last year, you know, so it's almost like it becomes a family affair.
Thing. Yep.
So I'm not really away from my family, but I'm including my family in serving and what I'm doing.
We're doing this together.
So, doing it together. So man, no, I love that. Love that, man.
Yeah.
Any questions? We got a question in the back here.
Yeah. I was wondering if you wanted to help somebody, but they didn't want the help. What's the best thing you should do about that?
That's a great question. Throwing it to me.
Hey, you're the guest, man. I'm just hanging out,
No, that's a great question because I think sometimes, I like what Tim Timberlake said, that we have to, I think, keep the why behind the what we're doing. So the why is, it's about people.
It's good.
And so I think if we make it about ourselves and we try to serve somebody, we try to love on somebody, and then they kind of give us the stiff arm and kind of reject us, if the focus is not about them, but it's about us, we can, I think, get upset in that moment. Lord, you just don't want what I have, you know what I mean? But it's like, I was really doing this for you. It's not really for me. And so I think in moments like that, and parents, any parents here? There's been plenty of times, I'm sure, our kids are 8, 6, and 4, but there's been plenty of times where we've tried to do certain things for our kids and they did not want it. And so in that moment, I have a decision to make. I can either force it on them, like you're going to do that, or I can just kind of humble myself and pray for them, continue to love them.
That's good, man.
And so I think if like Paul says it like this in 2 Corinthians 5, that we are compelled by the love of Christ. So I think if we're compelled by the love of Christ, it may grieve us that, somebody may not want to receive what we have to offer. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, God, they're your kid. You love them more than I do. And so I know if I can't do something for them, I know that you're going to get something to them at some point through somebody else. It may not be me, but it may be somebody else. And so I think if we kind of look at it in the sense of our job is not outcome, our job is just obedience.
It's good, man.
So like some of us might be called to plant a seed. Some of us might be called to water the seed, but it's only God who brings the increase. And so if we're just being obedient to what God's called us to do, just let him take care of the results and love people anyway, anyhow.
So good, man.
That's a good question. Yeah.
Got one over here.
I want to thank the production team for a real microphone. Brian tried to play me earlier with a fake one. I know I got my online fans. I'm just kidding. I get to work for Teen Challenge, and I love these kids. And I love where he talked about we're attached by pain. Not that we're attached to our pain, but we have empathy for each other in our pain. So how do you recognize pain in others? Because it doesn't always look like just crying.
Yeah. I think so much comes with listening to people.
It's good.
And just, he hit on it, and it's so powerful, the ministry of presence. Can I just be present enough with people to hear them, to hear their story? One of the things that Jesus did so perfectly, and you see it in the book of John chapter 4, was when he went to the well, he's talking to the Samaritan woman. So much of that story was her talking. And the more she talked, the more you kind of begin to see the pain. And just like Jesus, obviously he is our example. We follow his lead. You see how he was able to really kind of minister to that pain. But it all started with him just stopping on the side of the road and saying, hey, you got anything to drink? And so the question I think is, can we humble ourselves enough to enter into the world of somebody else, to hear them? Because I think if we would take the time to get close to people, to listen to them, to not make assumptions about people just because of, who they are, what their skin color is, what their background is, what their beliefs are. I think if we could just take the time to just enter into the world of people and hear their heart, I think at the same time, God will give us wisdom as to how to minister to the brokenness that they have. But it all starts, I think, with listening. And I think the Bible says something like, be quick to listen, slow to speak, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
No, that's really good, man.
Yeah.
Really good. I think we got another question here in the back. Online question coming in.
Yeah, we got one online from Allie Himmler. She just had a question kind of about that listening aspect. She's saying that she kind of has a tendency when she's listening to someone else's and like their problems and just kind of hearing their testimony. She has a tendency just to share hers, just to resonate and just to kind of like care for them in that way. She's just wondering, like, how do you listen and not like, should you not share like your testimony, or should you just like purely listen?
That's a great question. I think it kind of connects with the previous question. I've learned that some of the best ways to hear people's hearts is just by asking questions, as opposed to making declarations and making statements. So I think if we kind of like lead with questions like, hey, tell me about your story, like, hey, I noticed that you kind of do this, there's a reason why you do that. And so really, once again, I think just entering into the world, and I think sometimes we'll want to share our stories because we want to connect with them. And sometimes that can, I think, if we're not careful in an attempt to try to connect with them, we can kind of create more distance because, we're telling our story, but they're like, but I'm still in pain.
Yeah.
Right?
That wound or scar.
Yeah, and I think we mean well when we do it, but I think we can maybe sometimes cause more damage than good. And so I think, this is just my personal opinion, I think maybe we kind of hold off on trying to share, our story until we really understand theirs. Yeah. And then I think we'll kind of see an avenue to really build that bridge.
I think oftentimes too, maybe you haven't been through the same thing as somebody.
Sure.
But some of those emotions are the same.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
The emotions that people may have experienced in the midst of their circumstance.
Right.
Totally different than mine, but similar emotions.
Yeah.
You can connect on. Man, really good. Any other questions here in the house? Anybody? Any questions here? I see a hand in the back, or somebody just freshening up some hair.
I do have a question. I'm going to go kind of foundational here, because I think thinking about intentionality, this last year and a half has probably hit like a big reset button on everybody. I think we've lived lives that have been very insular, and so what can we start doing? Maybe as we're getting back into this, as literally we're talking about reaching people and we need to structure these things in our lives. What are maybe daily things or weekly things that literally need to jumpstart our brain to begin thinking intentionality, to begin thinking that it's not just about me? How can we start to see others around us? What are an encouragement to everybody, maybe some things you do or that you've kind of seen or heard? Or
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Being present, and it sounds like it's so repetitive, but I think in a time where we've been so disconnected, being present, presence is like liquid gold right now. And there's so many people that have been misunderstood during this time, that's been mistreated. I was talking to Matt, we were talking earlier before tonight started, and one of the things that God kind of downloaded into my heart is that people are kind of in 4 different lanes, or many people, not all people, but many people are kind of in one of 4 lanes. One, they're wounded, so they're hurting. Some people have lost people due to COVID. People have lost relationships because of political things, because of arguments, disagreements. You have some people who are weary, they're just tired. They've been working crazy hours, they're working overtime, and they're a stay-at-home parent now, and they're trying to raise 3 kids, and they're trying to keep their marriage together, and they're trying to read their Bible, and they're trying to be a good Christian, right? So people are just tired. How many of y'all are just tired? I'm tired, So a lot of people are in that space, but then you have a lot of people who are wavering right now. They're I know God is real, and I know He loves me, but some days I don't feel like that. Some days I question my relationship with God, and then you have some people who have just wandered, they're just gone, and they've taken the bait of Satan. And so I think when we kind of see people in these different spaces and understand where people are on their journey, it allows us to be able to see practical things that we can do. So some people who may be wounded because of betrayal, a word of encouragement, it could be something as simple. This is very practical. It could be something as simple as, instead of using my social media platform to talk about masks and vaccines, hey, how can I pray for y'all? You will be blown away as to how many comments, you know what I mean? And people will say, I just lost a family member. Can you pray for me? It'll be perfect strangers, It could be simply as saying, you got something extra in your bank account from a stimulus check or something like that. Like, hey, I just want to bless some people randomly. Drop your Cash App. You will have that whole comment section flooded with 100 comments. 90% will be people you never met before. But, all jokes aside, but I think it's just being kind of creative, like tapping into the needs that that are present and asking, how can I leverage what's at my disposal to add value to somebody else's life, emotional value, financial value, spiritual value. So, yeah.
Man, really good. Any more questions in person here? Anybody online? We got a hand over here. Got one more question.
I was just going to give an example because I just want to basically validate what you were saying, because I remember having a really bad day one day. And I don't know what all happened, but it just seemed like a hurricane of a bad day. And this lady knocked on my door, and she said, I'm from this church, and I just wanted to ask you, how can I pray for you today? And I was like, what? And I just, burst into tears, and I was like, I need you to pray for this, that, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, okay. And she prayed for me. She left, a flyer from her church. And I was like, that was amazing. That it was something so simple, but she just knocked on my door and asked me, could she pray for me? And I was like, definitely. And then the second thing was gift giving. I remember I was going through a hard time, and people would give me a gift. It could have been a fruit basket or something like, hey, I just wanted to let you know I was thinking about you. And that literally made my next few months. So something that simple, just wanted to validate what you were saying.
That's good. That's good. I think sometimes we underestimate rather how much of a difference the small things that are in our eyes small, but how they are major in the eyes of other people. So it could just simply be those things that you just mentioned. It could be behind just giving somebody a gift card. Y'all have one of my favorite new ice cream spots around the corner from here. I think y'all already know what I'm talking about, the Yard. That's like $30.
Yeah, big gift card.
My wife and I, we had to share one. We're like, no, we're not about to. But maybe it's I just want to bless somebody. I want to bless a coworker, and I'm just going to, get a gift card for somebody. And so, just small things like that we sometimes think are insignificant, they go a long way.
Yeah, it's really good, man. Really good. Any more questions here? Any questions rolling in online? Well, as we're kind of coming to the close here, we have Serve Day coming up, right?
Yep,
Saturday.
Yeah.
About 8 different projects, right? No skill required.
That's awesome.
Anybody can show up, show off. God's going to do some amazing things, man.
Yeah.
Give us a word of encouragement, okay? So let's say I got some stuff going on Saturday, right? And my life feels crazy. Maybe I'm online, maybe I'm in person. I don't know where I can find this time. What's some encouragement, man, just to speak some life into somebody maybe right now that's just kind of, I don't know, I'm on the fence about signing up. Yeah,
I would say it doesn't take a lot to make a big impact. So even if you only have 5 minutes, come pull up, show up. You may not have a whole lot of skill. Doesn't matter, show up. I think about Mark chapter 2, there was a story where God was paralyzed and 4 other men were trying to get this brother to Jesus. The room was packed. The house was packed.
Love that story.
And it was like one or two things could have happened. They could have said, all right, the house is packed. Bro, you're just going to have to wait the next time we can bring you to Jesus. But today, it's all sold out. There's no more space. So they could have just left or do what they did, which was, what if we take him down through the roof? What if we take the roof off? Whose idea was that?
Yeah.
And how crazy does that sound to do that? And so I think sometimes it's like, are we willing just to sacrifice a little bit? Are we willing to go the extra mile? Are we willing to make ourselves uncomfortable to bring somebody else comfort?
Yeah, that's really good, man. I love what you said too, because that's finding a solution.
Yeah.
Right? They found a solution. They weren't just okay with just bringing him, but they wanted to get him to Jesus, man, finding that solution. Yeah. Well, man, I'm going to do something. It's been so great having you, man.
Yeah.
Can y'all make some noise for Pastor Edwin online? Throw him up some hands, some praise hands. I'm going to finish tonight just as we have every week with RPM. But if you are online right now or in person, when we leave, there's an iPad outside. We have Pastor Phil, Pastor Jason will be out there to sign you up for some Serve Day opportunities, right? We have 8 different opportunities. Don't delay. I love this. Don't delay, but sign up today because you're not going to do it tomorrow, right? Sign up right now because you're not going to do it later. Give them my little infomercial here for a second. If you're online, sign up. Click that link. It's coming in the chat right now. Come on out. It's going to be such an amazing day. But I want to read our prayer. I want to read our prayer over you, and then we're going to close out tonight. So if y'all could pray with me. Well, God, I thank you for giving us 1,440 minutes every day. Give us wisdom to steward them well. Help us be aware of the needs of our community and help us find solutions. As we meet those needs, give us opportunities to share your love with others. Help us focus on people first and then the task at hand. Make us effective in reaching people for your glory. In Jesus' name, everybody said, amen. Well, thank you all for joining us. We'll see you all Saturday at all the different projects. Have a great rest of your week.
Man, what a night here. This is our closing out. Man, it's on fire tonight. What a great night having Pastor Edwin here with us. Man, I love just what they were sharing about intentionality. And, man, we can just take that in. Let's roll that into our Saturday, right? With our Serve Saturday coming up this Saturday. And just have some intentionality. Even just like you were saying, just it's small things sometimes, right? It's just, I love what they were sharing about just saying, hey, how can I be praying for you on social media? If you're online, maybe you're not able to make it out on Saturday. Maybe you just drop it in your Facebook on that page and just say, hey, how can I pray for you? Man, I love to see the reaction. I bet you will have just a blown up of, hey, this is what I'm going through. Would you be praying for this?
Yeah, I love how every answer to every question, they weren't the same answers, but it was the same thought. It's not that hard, and that when you get involved and you try to reach into somebody's life, God will bless it. You just have to be willing to give your gifts, your abilities, your talents, and just your heart to help that person and not worry about the return, not worry about how you feel, but it's really about that person and it's about them. It's about that community. It's about who you're trying to help more than it is about you and seeing the results you want. I love that idea that we're just spreading seed, right? We're not necessarily focused on the way the seed grows. Sometimes we'll be there to see the seed grow, but oftentimes we're just planting seeds. We're sowing seeds, and we're hoping that they grow. And we're believing that God will take care of that because that's his job. Our job is just to be faithful.
That's so good. That as we're just being faithful, sowing the seed, giving it up to God, there's so much release in that.
Yeah.
And God's gonna water that. He's gonna grow it, and maybe someone else is gonna see the harvest. Maybe you'll see the harvest of someone else's seed.
That's right. That's right.
But we're gonna plant some seeds on Saturday,
Yes,
so
we
make
are.
sure you hit that serve link. Come on out to an outreach or join one online. Make one up online even. Hey, like we said, do the prayer, the Cash App. That's a bold move right there. That's a bold move.
You hit me up if you want to know my Cash App. I don't even have one, but I'm going to get one.
Yeah. Jason and I will send you our Cash Apps too. Oh, man, but what a great night. Don't forget, we have them on site as well to serve. We have the iPads going on, but we will see you all on Sunday for service at 8:30 and 10 and Saturday for the outreaches. Love you all.